Hi, I just have a quick announcement to make before starting this week's episode. If you listen to this podcast and you are an Etsy seller but you don't live in the US, I would love to have you as my guest on the podcast. I have lots of listeners who live outside of the US and who would like to hear from other sellers who also live and sell outside of the US. So if that's you and you're listening and you live in Asia, Africa, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere that isn't in the US, please let me know. You can reach me at interview@convome.com or go to convome.com and click on the Be My Guest tab. And of course, I love having my US sellers on. So if you would like to be on the podcast as well and you sell in the US, for sure, please let me know. But I just wanted to quickly make an announcement that I would love to have more international Etsy sellers on the podcast. And you don't have to be a rock star seller or a superstar seller in by any stretch of the imagination. If you're willing to just share your story and help other Etsy sellers, I would love to have you as my guest. Thank you. And did I mention the Middle East? I would love sellers in the Middle East. I know that there are listeners out there. So if you are selling on Etsy and you're in the Middle East as well, you are welcome to apply.
Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I thank you for joining me for another episode. And this week, I'm so thrilled. We are crossing the pond again. I'm back in Europe. My guest this week is Lone, and she runs the Etsy shop Hundekollektivet, and she's based in Denmark. And I will confess now, I did not say her name exactly correctly or her shop name. And now I know how everyone feels when they try to say my name. So the shoe's on the other foot. Lone, thank you so much for being my guest and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Ijama. I'm so happy to be here. And I think your pronunciation of my name and my shop was perfect.
Thank you. Now, before I have you just tell us a little bit about yourself, I want to spell your shop name so that anyone who wants to hop over there, perhaps while we're talking, can do that. And Lone's shop name is spelled Hun, like Nancy, Dekollektivet. Hundekollektivet. And Loni, what does that mean for anyone who is wondering?
Well, the Hunde kind of sound like hound.
Yeah.
It means dog, and kollektivet means collective or commune.
Okay.
So it's like dog collective, I guess I would call it if I needed to translate it into English.
Yeah, okay. And so I guess that gives us an idea of what you make. But before we jump into all that, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Lone, and I live in Aarhus, Denmark. And I run the Etsy shop Hundekollektivet. And I started the shop about a year and a half ago. And actually, well, I should tell you what I do. I make dog collars and dog harnesses and dog leashes. And I was inspired by my own dog, Irma. And she's actually the one in my logo I did. So you can see like... a pretty stylistic version of her in my logo. And she was the one who inspired me to start making dog harnesses for myself. When I got her as a little puppy, I was having trouble finding a harness that would fit her just right. Like all the harnesses I got her were restricting her, like around the shoulders, or maybe pushing in on her stomach and on her throat when she was trying to learn how to walk the leash. So I started by altering her old harnesses just to make it fit her better. And as she grew, I thought like, well, maybe I could like find a nicer kind of fabric. So I went to a fabric store and I found some really nice designs of like different wedding and ribbons, and I made some for her. And yes, I was really like pleased with that, even though today it looks like kind of awful to me. But I was really pleased pleased with it, and I got a lot of compliments for it down at the dog park and also online. I made an Instagram account for my dog at that point.
Oh.
And yes, because I didn't want to like doggy spam everybody with the dog pictures, because I took so many. And I remember there was this really nice lady. She commented on this photo I had of Irma on the beach in her like striped, like really brightly colored harness, and she was like, "Oh, I love that. Do you sell them?" And I was like, "No." but then I got to thinking, like, wait a minute, maybe I could sell this online. And I started to. I had a lot of fun, like buying different materials, and I borrowed my mom's old sewing machine and set up a little like studio here at home and just started making them, and that's when I started my Etsy shop.
Wow. So before you started making the harnesses, did you already know how to sew?
Yeah. Actually, it's always been like a passion of mine as a child. Like growing up, I was always sewing like little clothes for my dolls, or like stuffed animals, and I even tried like making my own dresses when I became a teenager. So I really enjoyed that as a kid and as a young adult, but then I really hadn't done it for a long time, so I was so happy to fall back into that later on. So that it just made me really happy to be sewing again.
Yeah. Now, up until the lady asked whether or not you sold them, the thought had never crossed your mind. What were you doing before then? Because now I know, and congratulations, selling on Etsy is now your full-time business.
Yes.
It's what you do now for a living. So what were you doing before then?
Yeah, well, it was quite different. I went to have a degree from the university, and I got a few different jobs when I graduated. But I really couldn't find anything that really would make me happy. And any job I got, I just got really stressed, and I got really depressed, and I had to like commute for a long time, like ride my car for an hour and a half, and I was just thinking, like, is this really life? Like, should I really like be this depressed, and should I really like be this stressed? Is this how it's going to be for the rest of my life? And just when I reached like one point, I was just like, no more. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be happy, and I want to do things with my life that really makes me happy. And it must be possible to have a job that is gratifying. And so that's what made the change for me. Like, I really tried hard to fit into the 9 to 5 box, but I just couldn't. And it makes me so happy now that I can finally say that I really love what I'm doing, and it makes me so happy to have this freedom and use my creativity, and it suits me so well to be able to choose what I do with my time, like every day. So it was definitely the right thing for me to do.
Yeah. And I know that's encouraging to some, because especially now, a lot of people are struggling with the changes on Etsy, but it's so nice to talk to someone who, despite everything, is still able to make a living on Etsy, which means, it's possible. And I know it's obviously a combination of what you're selling, the quality of your products, and their uniqueness. And so that has all worked in your favor. So congratulations on that. And thank you for just being an encouragement to those of us who are able to hear that you're making it happen.
Oh, thank you so much. But I would say, like, I don't earn a ton of money. Like, I see this as a work in progress. Like, I'm just happy, like, being able to pay my rent. It just makes me happy to support myself just at a minimum level right now. But,
Yeah.
I have plans to grow. So
Yeah, and actually, Loni, I'm happy that you said that, because I was having a conversation with someone recently about what it takes to be able to just run your own business and say you're making your living off it. And everybody's needs are different, So the mom who has, a husband and 3 kids has a different need financially than the single guy who is living by himself and maybe just has a pet to take care of and no one else. And so their income needs are different. And so what he can quit his day job for to earn through selling on Etsy is probably a different income level than the mom with a family to take care of. And so everybody's needs are different. And so what works well for one person might not necessarily be for another, but it doesn't, there's no standard. And so for you, it's working, and that's great because it meets the needs that you have, and it meets the financial requirements that you have. And so still, I think that's an encouragement, because if we all just sit down and decide, okay, what do I need for myself? Okay, maybe I need to keep working a bit longer till my shop is bringing in this particular income level, then I can leave the job. Then, it's more realistic when we base it on our own individual needs, but still encouraging to see that others are able to achieve that.
Well, yeah, true. Well, I just wanted to say, like, I keep my income, like, my needs really low. Like, I live in a tiny apartment, and I don't have kids, and I only have my dog, and I have my car. That's what I spend most of my money on, because just being able to do what I love is just the most important thing to me.
And sometimes that's everything.
Yes, it's everything to me. When you try to have like a lot of money and a good job, but if you aren't happy, like, it's not worth it.
No,
I think so. My goal is just to live a happy and stressless life. That's the most important thing. And of course, it can be stressful if you don't have enough to make ends meet, but I've been fortunate enough to make it work for the time being, at least. But also, I wanted to say that I don't generate like all my income from Etsy. I also am trying to make a collaboration with some retailers who sell my stuff, so I get a little bit of income off of that. And also, I've been to one dog show, and I'm planning on going to more, like set up my little booth and sell my products like directly to the consumers. So that's also a way where I can generate a bit more income.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, these dog shows, are they the kind that at least here in the US, there's some dog shows they show on TV where they have these fancy dog breeds, and they walk them around the room, and they run them, and people look at the teeth and they look at the hair. Is that the kind of dog show you mean?
Well, yeah, actually I have I've been planning to go to one of those, like a really big event for, I think that they will have about like 7,000 people going there this fall. So that's the first time, like really like big professional scene where other like professionals are coming and setting up their shop. So that's gonna be so much fun. But when I started, like the one show I went to, it was more like a competition. It was at my local dog training club. Me and my dog Yema, we train for agility. Do you say that?
Oh,
agility?
yeah.
Yeah. So we do that in our club, and I went to this competition, and they let me set up my little booth like for free, and I sold like a lot of stuff, and I brought my sewing machine, so I was sitting there sewing for people, taking measurements of the dogs.
Oh, wow.
I brought Irma as well, and she was really good like at greeting people to my shop, and I just had a blast, like meeting customers and seeing the dogs and wearing my products. It was a lot of fun. So I'm definitely gonna do more of that.
That's great. I like that you're thinking outside the box, not just, and one has to do that when you're trying to grow and scale your business. You know that you have to branch out from, just one platform. But at least it's a good, steady income earner being on Etsy. But then there are other places and other venues that you can also get more sales. How did you first discover Etsy? What brought you to Etsy in particular, as opposed to another online selling platform?
Well, I think it was actually my sister who mentioned it. Like, she had been buying some handmade items, and when I first got my dog Irma, she was telling me like, oh, maybe you can go on Etsy and find something nice for her. Mm-hmm. And so I did. I found this really beautiful dog leash, and I ordered it, and it came, and there was this little like extra present in it, like a small like toy tube bone kind of
cute.
thing.
Yeah.
But it just it made me really happy. Like someone made the effort, so I got a really good impression of Etsy, like right off the bat.
So when you now decided to start selling, so you knew Etsy was a place that you could sell your handmade. Did you also try anywhere else, or even setting up your own e-commerce site?
Well, I did Etsy at first, and I think I tried once. I wanted to make my own website, so I tried Shopify.
Yeah.
Shopify. But then I kind of gave up like midway, because it was just too much of a hassle, like putting in all my product. At that time I had like over 100 products, and I just said, oh, is it really worth it? And then I decided to go with Etsy patterns instead. So, the Etsy pattern.
Yeah. What did you think about that?
I think that is a really great way to get your own website going like really fast. Mm-hmm. So it is so easy. Like you pay an amount each month, but then they just set up a separate website for you, and they put in all your items, and they keep it updated. So if someone buys from my website, which is called Hundekollektivet.com, so it has like my own name.
Yeah.
Then they would just update my shop on Etsy if an item gets sold on my personal website. Right. So that makes it really easy for me. So that's what I'm doing right now.
So when you look at your stats, do you see a fair number of sales coming through your Pattern by Etsy site?
Not so many. Like it all comes from Etsy, like most of it. But it's just recently I started. I have an Instagram account and I have my Facebook account, and it's just recently I started linking from them to my Hundekollektivet, like my .com site.
Yeah.
So before that, I didn't really have a way to generate customers.
Right.
I just have it like on my business card, and I thought it would be look more professional when I contact retailers. So that's
right.
how I did it. But actually, I think you and your guest, one of your guests, was the one who inspired me to link to my own .com site.
Right.
From my because you had one guest on who said like, oh, if you link to your Etsy site, like people will probably just go to other shops. Yep. Like, because they get really confused, and Etsy would be grateful, but it's better to link to your own. So yes, I saw the point in that. So I changed it up, and I'm excited to see how it will work. Like it would also be easier for me to see how much I generate for myself from my social media. So.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Now, is there much maintenance for anyone else who also wants to do the same thing, like have their own .com, so just set up through Pattern? Do you do much maintenance on the Pattern site, or anytime you update your Etsy shop, that also gets updated, so you don't have to go in and do things twice?
No, yeah, it's just it updates automatically when I update my Etsy site. So it's really, really easy. There's a few things you need to set up, like I think the banner, or and also you can choose, like if you don't want all your product from the Etsy shop to show on your .com site, you can go and choose that. But it pretty much just updates itself according to my Etsy site. So it's so easy for me.
Okay. Great. All right, good. So that's good for someone else who's listening now to know, who is wondering. If you don't want to go through the process of setting up a Shopify site, which would be its own also independent website, Etsy does make it easy by giving you this Pattern by Etsy option. And so there's a lot less, especially if you're not technically inclined and you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to learn the technical ins and outs of setting up your own e-commerce website, because it is time consuming, unless of course you can afford to pay someone to do it for you. Then Pattern by Etsy is a good option. Also, if you are on Shopify, and this is for anyone who might not know this, there is an app which, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember which guest mentioned it, but one of the guests my guest on the podcast said there was an app that allows you to import all your Etsy listings into your Shopify site. So with the pictures and the descriptions and everything. So, you basically just click a button and then everything downloads into Shopify, so that what you were trying to do back then, Loni, won't be a problem. And so somebody thought up this app and created it specifically for people who sell on Etsy. So at least now there's a way to do it with less headache. And
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I know. I think it's called Etsify is the app. I'll confirm that, and I'll put a link to the app in the show notes for anyone who is on Shopify and is manually trying to rebuild all their listings. You don't have to do that. If you go to convome.com and look for this episode 250, I will have the link to the app that will help you do that easier. Loni, do you remember when you first opened your Etsy shop? How quickly did you get your first sale? Did you have to wait for a long time, or was it soon?
Well, it felt like a really long time. I think maybe about a month went by.
Okay.
And I was worrying like maybe no one would ever buy from me, but I'm sure everybody knows that feeling.
Of course.
When you first start out. But then, yeah, I remember it really vividly, like getting that sound in the middle of the night. That someone had bought one of my harnesses, and I was so thrilled. It was, I remember it was this lovely lady living in California, and she has like a senior dog that was 15-year old.
Oh.
I think it was called Candy Bee or something. It was this little old dog. And if you go to my Instagram account, you can see one of my first posts is of that little dog, because she sent me a photo. Oh. And she was just so happy with that harness. She told me that she had trouble finding a harness that would fit. She said her dog's carrot-shaped weird body. And it really encouraged me, like, to be able to make something that would make both her happy and this little senior dog she adopted happy. And I was so happy that she would send me a photo. I wrote, well, I do that now as well. Like when I make a harness, sometimes also with the colors, I make a little handwritten card or note saying that I would be really happy if they would send me a photo of the dog wearing my products, and they really often do. So it's nice, it makes my day when I see a dog wearing my my designs, and
Yeah.
it's so thrilling to see, like, it's the sweetest dogs, and I get the background stories,
Oh, wow.
and it's just all over the world, from Thailand to Italy to Mexico, and a lot from the U.S. as well. So
I was actually going to ask about that. Like, where does the bulk of your customers come from? And it sounds like all over the world.
yeah, I do have from all over the world, but most of my customers, they come from the U.S. definitely, and most of them are from New York and California
Ah,
for
the
some reason.
coast.
I don't know why. But I think it sounds like, to my like European ears, it sounds like really fashionable, like sunny California and like
And
fashionable New
fashionable New
York.
York, right?
Yeah. Yes, and I just love, like, I have the sweetest community of customers who are really good at writing me back, and with the photos, and also they follow me on Instagram and I follow them back, and
Yeah.
I just love, like, I feel like I know some of these clients, and like I know their dogs because
Yeah.
I follow them, yeah, on Instagram, and comment on their stuff, and sometimes they comment, like, if someone buys a harness and they say, like, oh, I have that harness too, and I love it, and I just feel so proud.
Nice. Now, do you do a lot of custom work just because, dogs come in all shapes and sizes? So when someone orders a harness, can they typically give you their dog's measurements, or do you have some standard sizing, and then if it doesn't fit, then you'll make it custom?
Well, I do have standard sizes, but I do also do a lot of custom work because, as you say, like, dogs are really different, and some have like special needs, or maybe like a longer body or something. So if people ask me to, or if they just write me and ask about the sizes, I always say you can just make a note and include like your dog's measurement around the chest, and preferably also around the neck. And then I can figure out which size to give them. And if they have special need, I would like to see maybe a photo of the dog, or know the breed. Like, if it's a dash hound, I know it has like a long body, and sometimes like a weird like breastbone sticking out, or like information like that is useful to me as I fit the harness.
If there's
but also,
oh, sorry, go on. No, go on.
okay. Also, I do a lot of custom works for people who have like small puppies, and they say, oh, I have a puppy of this size, and it's gonna be growing. So in that way, I can make a harness that will fit the puppy as it is, like the current size, and then make maximum room for the harness to adjust as it grows.
Oh, nice. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what about dogs that are have a lot of fur or hair? How do you account for that? Because, how do you account for that?
Well, I always like leave some room for adjustment. Like, my harnesses, all of them are really adjustable. I can adjust like around the chest and neck, and also the strap that goes like in front, like goes on the chest bone. They can all be adjusted. So if a customer tell me their measurement around the chest, I always leave at least like a few inches for adjusting bigger and smaller, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, so the fur doesn't really matter then. But sometimes, like, the really furry customers, they send me photos of their harnesses, and I can't really.
You can barely see them, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but as long as they're happy, then I'm happy.
When you first started selling the harnesses, did you do some research on Etsy to see? I know you had bought one already, but did you, before you started coming on as a seller, did you look at Etsy to see what the competition was like, or you weren't concerned with that at all?
Well, I did look, but not so much to see if the competition. It was more like when I was looking for a harness for my own dog, I was But I was kind of missing like that particular design that I liked, like the Y-shaped design that doesn't put pressure on the throat.
Yeah.
I had trouble finding, like, I remember there were so many harnesses, and I was like scrolling through hundreds and hundreds, because I wanted to find just the right, like the right design, but like the right shape, but also with a cute design. And I had trouble finding that combination. So and of course it's just my taste, but I thought like that would be room for my products.
Yeah.
Even though, yeah. And I think also because I make harnesses, and a lot of the ones who make dog accessories on Etsy, they mostly make dog collars and leashes, and I think the competition there is a lot bigger than the ones who make harnesses.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, maybe because it takes a lot more work. It takes a lot of time to make a harness, so that might be it. But
right. And I like that. And I think that's a good lesson for someone who's listening and perhaps is selling in a more competitive niche on Etsy, is think about what complementary products or I don't know if complementary is the right word, but other related products that you can make that might not be as competitive or congested in that niche. And so yes, you're right, there are many sellers who make collars, and so that's getting, I don't know if it's saturated. I wouldn't say it's saturated, but there's a lot more competition than say harnesses, because those take more time and more effort. And so that's another way to stand out, is to maybe go the extra mile, make a product that might take a bit more time and work, but for which, of course, you can charge a bit more than a product that there are many more sellers of.
Sure, I think that's very true. But actually, I didn't really I wasn't so strategically when I went into Etsy, because I didn't really think about it. I just wanted to make my products, and I wanted to make it the way I like to make them. So I didn't really think too much about that until later.
That's the beauty of your story, is you were just making something for Irma, and it just happened that other people had a need for that product as well. And it's just, sometimes it just happens magically like that, where it's like, oh, okay.
It's weird like that, right? Like it's so easy in ways. Like I've been struggling like my whole life, like trying to build a career and fitting into that 9-to-5 job, and then when I just stopped like trying to overthink things and just did what make me happy, like dogs make me happy. I got a dog. Like sewing, that's what I used to really love as a child, and I just went back to that, like back to basics, and it just magically
it just worked.
Worked.
Yeah.
But I remember when I started my shop on Etsy, there was this question from Etsy that said, "Are you planning to make this like a full-time job, or like is it gonna be like your full-time employment?" And I was just thinking, what? No, like that could never happen. Like, no, it's just like pastime thing. Yes, so it's funny how things work out.
And it's probably good that your expectations were not that high, because then you probably didn't put that much pressure on yourself to make it, to try and make it your full-time thing. It just happened more organically, because it wasn't what you were aiming for. You were just doing what you were doing, and then it so happened. I don't know if that makes any sense. Sometimes it's good that if we don't pressure ourselves with expectations that are just, too high too soon.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, definitely.
So what does your typical day look like in the life of just running your business and getting everything done? How does it how does it all work?
Well, I'm not really that structured. I guess I work a little bit like all the time, but it works out for me. Like usually I sleep in like maybe getting up at 8 or 8:30, and then I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but usually the first thing I do when my alarm goes off, I check my my phone, my emails, and my Etsy convos.
Hey, you're
And
running a
usually,
business.
yes, I know, but I usually like I answer because as I am in Europe, like a lot of my conversations, they come in at night when
Oh, right.
people
Yeah.
are awake in the US. So in the morning, I usually like answer the convos from my bed, like before even getting up. So that's how I start my day, and then I'm always looking forward to start sewing. So I try to put in like sewing work at the start of the day and check the incoming orders and fill them, so I can get them sent off right away, like in the afternoon before the post office close. And then I just like really like I enjoy myself because I work from home, and I can be with my dog all day. She likes to sleep on the couch while I work, and then around noon we go for a walk in the park. I have a little break there, and then I get back home and work. But that's like a typical day, but also because, as I said, like I want my work life to be stress free, and I want to be a lot of joy in my days. So I let myself, maybe if I want to go to the beach in the middle of the day, or if I want to go to my dad's house, and if I want to see a friend, like I arrange that in the middle of the day, and then I just work at night to catch up. And also I like to bring my work along. So if I have like a coffee date with a friend, I might bring some leash I have to hand sew, or I know I make dog what's it called, dog tags, like I sew on the harnesses or on the collars.
Right, yeah.
I don't do that by hand, so I have some work I do by hand, so I can bring it along with me, like wherever I go. So yes, I always work a little bit.
I know. I was going to say, yeah, it sounds like your whole days, it's possible for you to always be doing something related to your business. Have you found, and I know you've been doing this since, you said just about a year and a half, since 2017. Have you found that you sometimes feel that because you work and live in the same space, and because a lot of your customers are international, and so the timing of messages and communicating is virtually 24 hours, except when you're sleeping, that you have a hard time maybe taking a break from work? Or are you still in that stage where you don't feel like you need a break from it yet?
Yes, I guess I'm still in the stage where I don't feel like I really need a break.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm really aware that I could get to that point, but but my job is just so enjoyable to me right now. So, and if someone writes me, I have to fight the feeling of just wanting to answer right away, like no matter what I'm in the middle of doing, like eating my dinner sometimes. So yeah, I guess I need to have a bit more self-control there.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice, that it makes a difference when you genuinely enjoy what you're doing and it doesn't feel like work, because then, you're not burning yourself out. When if it ever starts to feel like work, then, then one would worry about burnout coming soon after.
Yes, and of course, and I know about burnouts because I tried that in my previous jobs, but this feels so different. And also, like, I don't work like all the time. So as I said, I'm really good at making plans, like during the day with fun stuff, just things I enjoy, like seeing people I enjoy, and go to the dog park like in the middle of the day with my dog. And I think that keeps like a really nice balance for me, like work hard at home and then go out and play lots.
Yes. And having that flexibility is priceless.
Yes, it is. I think I can never go back to like a 9 to 5
You've been
job.
spoiled now.
Yes,
You're
really.
now unemployable, as they say.
I think so too. Yeah, I'm sad. No, I'm not really sad to say, but it's really yes. I feel really really grateful and really privileged to be able to live like this. I know there's many people who won't be able to do the same. So I feel so lucky. I found my little niche.
Yeah.
Here.
Now, speaking of just doing what you love and wanting to grow, do you have plans to, well, I know you said you do have plans to grow in the future and scale, but for you specifically, Loni, what does that look like? Are you hoping to one day get to the level where you have employees and other people helping make the product, or do you want to grow but only to a point where you're still fully hands-on? It's still a one-woman business. Ideally, what does your picture of growing and scaling your business look like?
Well, I'm trying to be just in the process right now. I'm think about the future, but I guess it can change over time. But the way I feel about it right now is that I don't want it to grow like too big, because I really need to remember what is it that makes me happy. And what makes me happy is to have this hands-on communication with my customers, and it's making my products by hand. Like my favorite part of the day is making my products. So why would I grow so big that I need other people to do the work I love? So I'm thinking if I grow so I can't take care of everything myself, I would like people to come in and do the stuff I don't enjoy. So, for example, I don't enjoy my bookkeeping and doing my taxes. And also, maybe I could use some help, like reaching out for like retailers, or like doing wholesales or stuff like that. And just remember the core of this business is that I want a job that makes me happy every day, and I want it to be no stress, and I want it to be fun. And it's okay if it doesn't grow and gets really big and generates a lot of money. It's supposed to be fun, and that's like my main goal. Yeah.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. When it comes to determining the price of your products, what factors do you consider when coming up with the final price tag for each of the products that you make?
Well, I time my process, so I know exactly like how long each product takes to make. So I know like how much time do I put in, and I know, of course, how much I spend on the materials. So it's quite straightforward. Like I know, like kind of like the wage I would like the hourly wage. So I make a calculation like that. And some products maybe I don't earn as much as other products. For example, my harnesses takes a long time for me to make and a lot of effort, but I wouldn't want to price them like way too high. Then I would rather maybe generate a more of a profit of my dog collars and leashes. So it kind of balance out, if you know what I mean. Yeah, because I think there's a limit to how much I want to charge for my products. I still want them to be affordable, and I'm still in the process of growing the business and finding the right level. So I'm trying to like adjust as I go. And maybe some of my products I also stopped making because if they were just taking like too long to make. So I just put them out of production and try to make something that would be more sustainable.
Oh, that makes
but it's difficult. It's a difficult balance.
Yeah. So that's a good point you mentioned, is knowing when to just end a product line if it's not, it might be selling, but it might not be bringing back a good return for all the time and effort it takes. And so it's just more profitable to just shut it down.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a balance to figure out. Like, also some of my products maybe I keep making because I enjoy it, and that's also value to me. So
yeah,
I guess I'm not like this really calculated business person.
Yeah, but still, it's good. Now, how about taxes in Denmark? How are they handled? Do you have to file taxes once a year? Are you required to do anything in particular, anything special because you sell internationally? How does it work for you?
Well, yeah, I have to do like my taxes once a year.
Okay.
I'm trying to find words in English. Well, if I sell product to the U.S., then there's no, what's the word? Like, it's kind of like a sales tax, I guess.
Yeah.
So if I sell to the U.S., I don't have to pay like a sales tax in Denmark. But if I sell a product to a country in the EU or from Denmark, then I have to pay like 25%.
Whoa, that is high.
Yes, so it's quite high. So that's a bit of a price difference. So it's more profitable for me to sell like to a US customer than it is within the EU. But I try to take that into consideration. So I have like a margin on my products. So I think that's why my products are like priced fairly high, maybe compared to other Etsy sellers, because I have to like consider that sales tax.
So how about if you sell to Australia, or a customer in Australia or Asia or somewhere outside of the EU? Are there any tax responsibilities for those as well, or just within the EU?
No, it's just within the EU. Okay. So when I do like my bookkeeping, I differentiate between like the world and EU.
So, okay.
Yeah, that's
okay. In that sense, I guess it's kind of simple. Not that doing it is simple, but if it's EU, it's this. If it's not, it's this.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because
it is fairly simple, and I found this like bookkeeping program software. Yeah. So I use that, and they like they make it quite easy for me to just like push a button. Oh, this is EU. This is the world. So,
what software is it? Do you mind sharing?
No, I don't mind. But it's a Danish Danish software. It's called Dinero.
Oh, how do you spell it?
Yes, but I'm sure there's a lot of different ones on the market. I'm sure you have that in the US as well.
Yes, there is software for the US, but in case there is someone else in Denmark who's selling on Etsy and they would like to check it out, how do you spell it?
Dinero. Dinero.
Oh, like money.
Like dinero.
Yes.
Like Spanish, like money in Spanish.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice. So I will find their website, and I will link to that as well, and put the link in the show notes for this episode. So if you're in Denmark and you're listening and you don't have a software you're using, you can check that out as well. I almost lost my train of thought. Let's talk about how you promote your Etsy shop. So I know you've mentioned Instagram. You it sounds like you primarily focus on Instagram. Do you find that you get a lot of sales coming from Instagram, or is it just a way for you to display your products and just create awareness?
Well, I do get some sales, but it's nothing compared to what I get from Etsy directly. So I see it more as a platform where I can communicate with my like former customers or future customers, and a way of branding myself, and also a place that maybe people who find me on Etsy, they can go if they want to know more about me or my products, or they want to see like my products on dogs. I post a lot of photos of my customers, my furry customers in the products. So
I like that, your furry customers.
Yeah, and sometimes I refer to like the dog as my customers, and my partner Jonas, he gets confused and like, oh, I was talking to this dog and she said that. Yes, because many of my customers, like their dogs have profiles. So when someone is writing me, it says like, "Oh, Luna, the dog says hi" or something. Yes,
that is funny.
It's a really fun community. Yeah.
Yeah. So now on Etsy, do you focus mainly on just using Etsy SEO and tags, or have you also dabbled with promoted listings?
Well, yeah, of course I try to tweak my tags. And I think like promoted listings is like the Etsy ads.
Yeah.
I tried that once.
How did it work out for you?
It really didn't work out that well for me.
Okay.
Well, I think I had like a few clicks on the ad, but it was just like a really small number compared to what I got like directly. So I was thinking like it couldn't really benefit me to keep doing that. It was like I had like four clicks or something, and then there was just like over 100 just coming in by themselves. So
organic.
I thought it might not be the best way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for your tags, do you use any particular system for figuring out what the best tags are for each of your listings?
I really don't have like a system. I'm just thinking like, what would I, as a customer, what would I search for something for my dog? Like, what if I wanted a harness like this one, for example? Like what would I type in? Would I type in like Y-shaped harness, or dog harness, cute dog harness, or like blue dog harness, and I just go with that.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not really. I'm not so systematic about that.
Yeah.
I guess I could be more. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I like about what you're doing is that it's working for you. On the one hand, one can use lots of tools and really, get analytics and, base stuff off analytics, which works as well. But there's a learning curve to figure out how to do all that. And then for you, you're just doing it more organically. Like, okay, what would I look for? Let me describe it this way. And what would somebody who wants to buy this look for? Which, in its purest form, I think I've read Etsy articles where that's exactly what they recommend. They're like, what would you look for? Whatever whatever words you think you would use to search for, put those in your tags, because the chances are somebody else is doing the same search.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, in addition to social media, do you do any blogging, or have you considered doing any blogging, or having a website where you talk about your process, you highlight your furry customers, anything like that?
Well, yeah, of course I thought about it, but I just think it would be too time consuming. Like, I think just keeping up with my Instagram account and on Facebook, I think it takes a lot out of my day. Yeah. Also compared to what I get in return.
Yes.
So I think it's like when you're a one person company, it's really important that you focus your time where you get the most like value out of it. And right now, I think I get most value from making sure I make my products and just focus on Instagram. So I think it would be too much, but maybe it's also because I don't really really feel like like making a blog. I would feel like it was work, like really forced. like a forced work because I would feel like, oh, I need to do this. But if it doesn't come from a place where, like, from a joyous place or a place of passion, then I'm not sure it would be worth it.
Worth it. Yeah. No. And that's
so for
good.
the time being, I'm staying out of that. Yeah.
Yes. And I like that because there's wisdom in focusing. There's I've had other guests who've said, I'll just pick one social media channel and just get really good at it and forget everything else. And, you're in the growing stage too. So yours is, just focusing on your product and making the best product and just growing your business that way. So it's good. I like that you're not feeling the pressure to be everywhere and do the blog and be all over social media.
I can feel the pressure, but I choose like not to be pressured about it, because of course, like, there's always things that you feel like you could do more, like I can always hear that voice in the back of my head. So I have like to make a conscious decision and say, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to focus on making the best product I possibly can. And I want to spend all my time like on customer service, just making sure that I have, like, I get really good reviews and I keep my customers happy. I think that's the way to grow my business and make sure it's gonna be seen, because if I have a happy customer, they're gonna spread the word on their social media to their friends. True. And I have a lot of like return customers, even though they have bought maybe a harness for the dog. Maybe they want to come back and get like another design like some months later. And I think that's just the way to build like your business by making sure that it's founded on the products and the relationship to your customers. Yeah.
Now, speaking of return customers coming to buy, say, a different design, typically, where do you get your ideas for new designs, and how long does it take from the time when you get a new idea for a design to actually creating it and then having it listed and ready for sale?
Well, I can make a new product and have it listed, like take photo and have it listed like within one day, if I'm really motivated. Yeah, but of course I would have to order the materials home or go buy them. But actually I have so much in the pipeline. Like, I have too much materials. I have so many boxes and boxes just filled with fabrics and different kind of designs that I want to make at some point, because I really enjoy just looking through like different websites where I can buy different stuff, like also like vintage ribbon and kind of like really special ribbons. And also I buy a lot from like other Etsy sellers, or if I go travel, maybe I buy some special like local ribbon. And yes, I have to cut back a little bit about buying too many materials. So yeah, I never have a hard time like getting the inspiration for new products. I have lots to come. I think I might have made like too many. I think I have about like 130 listings right now. And I was listening to, I think it was your podcast where some expert said, oh, the ideal number would maybe be like 30 or 20 listings. And I'm like, oh, because maybe I went a little bit overboard.
Yeah. Well, that's different for everyone. So I guess. Yeah. Like, because you use all types of different fabric and, different sizes for different dogs, I think it makes sense that you would have a lot more variety and more than 30. It might have just been specifically that particular seller or that particular product. But, I've seen shops with, like, if you take vintage sellers, for example, some have thousands of listings. And that's because everything they sell is one of a kind. It'd be hard to tell, to limit that to, a certain number of products because, everything is just one of a kind. You see it and, it's here today, it's gone tomorrow, it's replaced by something else. So, but, yeah.
Sure.
What, having sold on Etsy for the last year and a half, is there a lesson that you've learned the hard way, or something that, you ended up figuring out, but maybe you just took the long road to figure it out, and you can share it with us so somebody else might not have to take that long road to learn?
Well, I guess like one thing I learned the hard way, or maybe I'm still learning, is like really like going with my own gut and my own integrity in when I custom make products because sometimes I get like requests from people who want like, oh, they really like one particular design, but they want them like for the cat, and the cat is really small, or they want this leash but they want it as like a collar, even though it's really thin and might hurt the dog. And like I'm trying to like balance that I want to make products that I can be proud of and that I think is good, and I want to balance that with the customers' requests and wanting to make my customers happy. So it has to be like a balance. Like for example, I had quite recently I had this customer contacting me about, I have this really like beautiful coral ribbon, and I have a harness listed, and she wanted the harness for her cat, and I said that's fine, I can make it the size you want. And when she gave me her cat size, it was like a really tiny kitten, but at that point she had already ordered, and she was really excited about getting this this harness, and she even like she had like made a drawing of how I could like custom make it for her cat, so it would go like around the neck like a collar, so it couldn't escape, and everything was set. So I felt like, oh, I have to go through with this, and I made it as good as I could, but it took me a long time, and I had to sew a lot by hand to make this like really thick fabric into a tiny little harness with thick straps. And I sent it to her, and I got message back at, oh, it's so beautiful, we love it, and this is cutest little kitten with this big bulky harness. And she said, I love it so much, but it's just she just doesn't want to wear it.
Oh no. After all that.
Yeah, it wasn't a good fit, and I should have known better than to make it. Yes, so like going out of my way to try and make my customers happy, it can blow up in my own face and in the customer's face as well, because of course she was really sad that it didn't work out. And yeah, so I told her to send it back, and I'm gonna make her one in another fabric which is more like delicate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it turns out to be a bit of a hassle, but I see it as a learning experience for myself. Like next time there's a customer who wants like really like big straps for a tiny cat, I would know to I don't know, I should say like, I tried that and I don't think it's going to work out. So maybe you could choose something else.
I like that. So basically learning how to stay true to your brand, which, it's scary for some of us, because it's like, I don't want to leave any money on the table. If this person wants to pay me, then I'm going to try, but then sometimes it's not worth it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess that comes with experience, maybe, because I can laugh at myself and say, okay, that's just a learning experience, and I have to allow room for myself to make mistakes. And usually like the customers, they're really gracious about it when I do make mistakes. I just apologize for it and try to make it up to them. And so we're all just humans, I guess.
Yeah. Nice. I thought I had seen, I think I was looking at your Instagram and I thought I did see pictures with cats wearing the
Yeah.
harnesses.
Yes.
And I was
Yeah,
like,
I do make.
okay. I thought so. I was like, is that a cat? And I thought, no, it's a dog harness. But I'm like, my eyes don't deceive me. I know cat eyes when I see cat eyes. And it was
Yes.
clearly a cat.
Yes, I have made cat harnesses like successfully,
Yeah.
but it's really important that the straps are not too thick. So
Yeah.
so the ones on my Instagram account, they chose like a more narrow strap for their cat, and I custom made one for them, and I got really good feedback from it. So yeah, so I guess it does work out for cats as well. But yeah.
Now, Loni, what's one thing about selling on the Etsy platform that you really like? And then on the flip side, are there any features that you would like to see Etsy implement on the platform that they currently don't offer?
Well, to answer your first question, what I really love about Etsy is that they generate so much traffic to my store and everybody else's. That we don't even have to work for it. They bring in the customers, and I think that's so valuable. Like that's the reason I can make my business. That's so important. So I'm really grateful to Etsy that they're able to do that. What I would like for features, sometimes I notice something, I think, oh, this would be nice if I could maybe put up a video instead of just a photo of my product, so people could get a feel of like the fabric and the thickness and how it moves. And also it has recently I've been thinking like I would like to make it more easy for my customers to find the harness that fit their dog. So I would like to put listings like shop harness for like a extra small dog, or like a small dog, or medium-sized dog. But if I do that, I can't put the same listing in different categories. I'm not sure if you understand, but if I have like one harness design, then I offer it maybe from extra small to medium size. Then I would like to put it in a category for the XS dogs, so they can go and see, which harnesses would be good for my dog. If I put it in that category, then I wouldn't be able to put it in the small dog category or the medium size category, even though I make like in different sizes. So yeah, I've been struggling with that, like how to do that. So if there were a feature where you could put the same listing in different categories, that would be helpful.
Oh, yes. And I've actually wished for that before when I was doing a listing. Yes. And it hasn't been very often, but there have been a few times where I was creating a listing and I'm like, this could go in multiple places. And, I struggle to, decide, well, which category do I think it's going to get more exposure, because you can only pick one. So yes, that would be a nice feature to have.
Yeah.
Are you have you tried out Etsy Plus yet?
No, I really haven't, and I'm not quite sure what it entails. So I've been meaning to do some research there. Yeah.
So I mean they offer some additional features. For me, I've had guests on the podcast who have used it and are happy with it. For me right now, what they're offering, I didn't see any additional benefit for me. I just want to stress that. For some sellers, it does work. Like you get a credit with promoted listings. I think it's $5 credit per month, something like that. But then some additional features as well, which when I gauged them and weighed them out based on my own shop, it didn't really add any additional benefit for me. Now I'm waiting to see what Etsy Premium offers, because they haven't yet said all the things they'll offer, to see if that might have more features that would be beneficial for me. I know one thing that's attractive about Etsy Plus is you can have the scrolling banner in your shop. But other than that, well, there's some other things. Everyone's different, so yeah.
I guess I have to look more into that.
Yeah, do check it out.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a seller who maybe has been selling on Etsy for just about the same time as you? So relatively new, but maybe they're not yet seeing the sales and the traction in their shop like you are. What would you tell that person? How would you encourage that person to just stick it out?
Well, I guess it depends on which kind of shop the person have. But I would maybe advise to look into the products to see what kind of product they have, and maybe see if they can put in some additional products that are kind of similar. So, for example, if it was a shop making dog collars and they didn't see a lot of traffic, like maybe they should try and offer dog harnesses as well, or maybe like dog tags, or like try out maybe a wider variety of products that's related to the initial product.
Yeah.
Just like to put out feelers and see if maybe there's more of a market for this kind of product, and if you find that niche, or you find that product that would drive a lot of traffic, maybe like if you bring customers into your shop, maybe you will get some exposure for your other products as well. So
good
that
advice.
could be one way of doing it.
Yeah. And I know you've done that and it's worked for you. So hopefully somebody else listening can, and it will take some thought, like what we talked about it earlier. What complementary products can you add on to what you're actually selling? And I know I've had other sellers who just as a fluke have made something else and put it in their shop, and then that became the product that everybody wanted, whereas they just put that in there either as a fluke or because a customer asked for it, and so they just put a listing in there, and then it turned out that was the golden egg that changed things for them. So never just settle, especially if you're not getting the sales you want. Just keep thinking and playing around with ideas.
Yes, I think that's very true also, because it's, as for us as like making stuff by hand, like it's really quite easy for us to just throw in a new product. Like it's fairly easy for us, and you can do it for like a low cost, I guess, like put in a new product line. So I think it's a good thing to be playful and try to put different stuff out there just to test out the waters.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, especially if you're hand making stuff, you only need to make one and see if it takes off.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then, if it works, great. If it doesn't, that's just a low cost of doing business. You can move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to ask you what you're doing now that works really well, but I think what you've just said is perfect. With, as far as something that you're doing that's working really well for you. In addition to the tools and resources we've already mentioned, like you talked about the software for accounting, are there any other tools or resources that you use to help you sell on Etsy that have been really beneficial for you? And if not specific tools, any books that you've read or websites that you've found particularly helpful too?
Well, I guess I would like to say your podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been really inspiring to me, and as I sit and sew my products, I usually listen to like all kind of podcasts.
Yeah.
And some are like for small business owners, and some are for like marketing. And but this podcast in particular, because it's directed at Etsy sellers, I think it's given me a lot of like tips, and it's just really relatable and a good resource for us as Etsy sellers. So that would probably it.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, are there any, or is there any Etsy shop that you want to, and I know I didn't mention this to you earlier, but do you have an Etsy shop shout out? So this would be a shop, perhaps a seller who's helped you along the way, or that you're friends with, or somewhere that you like shopping from on the Etsy platform.
Well, I do have this one shop in mind that is actually it's my sister-in-law's shop, and it's called Artable by Mina, like Artable by Mina, and she's this like really cool artist. She does like hand paintings and drawings, like color pencils. She makes these really beautiful artworks, and she just started selling on Etsy, and I think she could use a shout out, so people should go and check out her beautiful stuff.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I will find her Etsy shop and link to it. It's Artable by Mina?
Yes,
is
with
that
2 N's.
2 N's, yes. Okay. Yeah. And let me see. I found it, so I will link to it. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, she's so talented.
Wow, yes. Oh my goodness, I love her banner. Okay. Artable by Mina. And if you want to jump over there right now, it's ArtableByMinna. I will also link to it in the Etsy shop. Hop over there, take a look at some of her art. It's very unique. It's lovely. And I will link to that in the show notes for this episode. Loni, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way they can connect with you?
Well, they can write me an Etsy convo, or maybe they can contact me on my Instagram or on my Facebook. And I'm pretty quick to respond. So everyone who wants to chat with me or have a question, just please contact me.
And is your Facebook the page for Hundekollektivet?
Yes, and but it's called by Hundekollektivet.
Okay.
Because Hundekollektivet was already taken on Facebook. So
it was?
Yeah, by some Norwegian person, I think.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, it's so confusing, but just if you go on Facebook, it's by Hundekollektivet.
Okay. All right. So I'll find your page and I will link to it, and your Instagram account as well. And of course, your Etsy shop.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. What time is it now in Denmark?
Well, it's about 7 p.m.
Okay. So not so bad.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, it's perfect. How about in the U.S. right now?
Right now, it's almost 12 noon.
All right. Yeah, we picked a good time for this conversation.
Yes, yeah, perfect timing. Thanks again for being my guest. I so appreciate you coming on. I really do enjoy having sellers from around the world, because Etsy is a global selling platform. So I hope that other sellers who are outside the US are encouraged by hearing your story, and just, how you're making it work on Etsy, and your plans to grow. I feel like in a year from now, your shop would have evolved so much and been so different. So I would love to do a catch-up episode with you if you're up for it.
Oh, I would love that. It's been amazing to be on your podcast, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk to you in person.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. I will be back next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.